I am looking forward to football season. We're like a month away from college football, which what I love, but also
6 weeks away.
Fantasy football.
6 weeks.
And we got to get Nate Dogg on there and Scotty because those guys missed it last year. We're gonna boot a couple people out. We'll figure that out. I think you have what?
I'm gonna be no fun.
No, it's
doing
fine.
That. I'm telling you, like
we know you hate group chats, but Nate can't look at a fantasy
we said
lineup.
If Nate,
you guys are way too like. I don't have time to sit there and look at stats and players.
I didn't
this.
think
I got rid of
that.
this guy.
I didn't think
do what feels right.
About that all the time.
I know.
You don't really dive into anything.
Listen,
you see what's projected. You see it's all intuition.
I thought the same thing. I'm so busy in September and October, November, and then hunting season comes around. What's nice is you sit in your tree stand, you get there early, and you do all your trades. You're scoping guys out. You got time for that. It's fine. I will help you. And I said if Nate gets on the Cortland Fantasy this year, you have to let him have Josh Allen because he's not going to play if he gets like the Jets quarterback. No offense. Speaking of that,
you don't even know who the Jets quarterback is anymore.
Okay.
You can't even say that. He's a Hall of Famer.
I need predictions right now before we get into the weeds of this podcast. Ricky, what's the Jets record this year? Regular season record. What are they going?
I think they're going 13-4.
13-4. My God.
Was it 18 game schedule now?
So
is it 17?
It does.
No, I think it's 18 1 week by 17 games.
Plus or minus. All right. So everyone knows Ricky is a huge Jets fan.
Absolutely.
I'm a closet Cowboys fan. I don't talk about that, but now that everyone knows. And Nate is a huge Bills fan. So it's great when Nate and Ricky are in the same office and the Jets and Bills because they're in the same division.
First game of the year.
I need a
Monday
prediction,
night.
Nate. What are the Bills going this year?
You said 13-4
for the Jets.
I'm gonna go the same.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first, folks. 13-4 Jets, 13-4 Bills.
And what's that first Monday night game? Is that what it is? Monday night, Sunday night?
Oh shit. 17 game slate. So 13-3.
I'll give you guys plus or minus.
13-3.
You're good.
3 losses. We'll lose once to the Bills. We'll lose to the Chiefs. And then that's it. Those are just two.
Right,
those are just two.
The
third one, it might be. Who knows? It might be.
They're going to take him out on that first game.
We're talking crazy talk here. All right.
Okay, Nate.
All right.
Okay, we'll see.
You had your window.
You better be nice to me.
Well, in case you guys hadn't heard, our last podcast that we did was with Cortland Line president, Mr. John Wilson. I thought it was a great podcast. Nate was on that one. Check that out on our media page, YouTube, and everywhere else that you can find podcasts, Cortland Hooked the Podcast. I'm here with my boy, Richard Nicoletti, and my man, Nate Dogg, Mr. Nate Daplock. I'm your host, Brooks Robinson. This is Cortland Hooked the Podcast. We just got back from ICAST, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe?
About 2 weeks.
So I figured let's give everyone kind of a recap here of general ICAST, all right? Richard was there. Nate Dogg had to hold the plant down with Scotty here because it was me, Matt Barovi, who's usually on, Richard, Zach, Frank. We had a good squad down there.
Ryan.
Big Jim, Ryan was there. So just so everyone knows, because I always get asked, I'm like, oh, we went to ICAST. They're like, oh, is that the fly one or is that the conventional one? So I just wanted to go through some basic ICAST, IFTD type terminology. So I feel like there's a ton of people that are in the fishing industry, just consumers, just, regular customers that hear of the show, know of the show, but like what is it? They know it's just like a big fishing show. So I just wanted to let's just break it down for people so they actually know what it is. So the ICAST show. Do you know what ICAST stands for?
International Conference American. No.
That was a really good attempt. All right, you ready for this? International Convention of Allied Sport Fishing Trades. Okay.
Could have got there.
The ICAST show is put on by an organization, the ASA. ASA stands for American Sport Fishing Association. Okay. Yep. So the ICAST show is basically this. You display there with a booth when you're a manufacturer. Okay. When you sell products, make products, whatever. I'll leave that loosely. You can only attend the show if you are a wholesaler or a buyer. Basically, like if you're a shop, right? Manager, owner, whatever, looking for new products like this, that. If you're a pro staff member for one of those manufacturers, basically you go, you work the booth, you represent the brand, talk about the products, or if you're a part of the media. So if you're, magazine space, digital space, stuff like that, you work with these guys to, try to get sponsorship, try to get ad money and stuff like that. You cannot attend the show if you're just regular Joe Schmo looking to do that, which is probably why a lot of people out there don't actually know, what it is, what goes on. So again, ICAST show just happened 2 weeks ago. It's put on by the ASA. How many exhibitors do you think were at that show at ICAST? How many booths were at that show? I'm going to go through the list of both this show and IFTD to give people an idea of how big the conventional industry is compared to fly fishing. I know we have both listeners, fly and conventional, but I just want to run it down. How many? I asked Nate this the other day, so I can't. Did I ask you? Oh, I did.
You did.
Oh, all right. So you're up. How many exhibitors were at that show? I'm not talking brands. I'm talking how many people had a booth at that show? Rough guess.
205.
632 exhibitors. Okay. And for those of you, that's just booths, right?
I guessed 500.
632. And
how?
So those are exhibitors, right? That doesn't account for the brands that are at the show. So for those of you listening, there's an exhibitor out there, right? It's called Pure Fishing, okay? But the brands that Pure Fishing owns, listen to this list. Pure Fishing, Abu Garcia, All-Star, Berkeley, Fenwick, Fenor, Frayville, Grays, Hardy, Hodgman, Hooker Reels, Johnson, JRC, Mitchell, Penn, Pfluger, Plano, Shakespeare. And there's probably some other ones in there. Those are the brands underneath Pure Fishing, okay? So you're talking 632 exhibitors. That just doesn't account for actually all the brands in the fishing space. You have other big monsters like Shimano. You're talking G Loomis, Power Pro. They got a bunch of others. Rapala. They have VMC, Suffolk. So there's some exhibitors there, but the brands inside those exhibitors is just insane. And when these booths, you're talking, I'm sure some of you listening have seen pictures of the actual show, but the booths from some of these big giant companies are just absolutely insane. I mean, you take, Pure Fishing, Shimano, Rapala, some of those, you add up all, the show is the size of this facility. It's
just
massive.
Don't know how you could fit 600 though, because you think about a row, 10 by 20s, 20 by 20s. Think of just our row alone from one end to the other. Maybe 15,
dude.
But no, just how do you get 600?
Dude, I pulled it off the website. It's all there.
I don't know.
It's public knowledge.
200 sounds very realistic.
And that I only just mentioned some of the big ones. There's some other brands like St. Croix Rods was across from us. They have Seven Reels is this reel company that they own now. So that was on the front side on the main aisle. So
they own that stinky bait that was across.
No, I don't know.
How'd the stinky bait get on their floor?
So we got
every day we're showing up.
We got
just cracking open these buckets of stinky bait.
We had a great booth location. We really did.
In the morning.
There was good vibes in our aisle. We were right near the main aisle. We're next to St. Croix. Great people, great product. Just good vibes. There was a booth next to us called Stinky Baits, and they basically had it was like soft plastics,
soaking in it,
soft plastics, but it was sealed in with fish juice, stinky.
It was gulp on steroids.
Yes, dude. Sure. So every time someone would come over, they're like, "Tell us about your product." They would open up a bag of stinky baits. So it's just kind of I don't want to say it was foul, but it wasn't, it was stinky.
8:30, 8 o'clock in the morning.
8:30, yeah.
A couple hours of sleep and you wake up, first thing you smell.
Stinky baits, bro. Great people, by the way.
Take a walk.
Great.
They were super nice. And
Take a walk.
They hooked us up with some stinky baits, and they actually had the coolest dog in their booth, actually. So yeah, they were there. Yeah. So the new product showcase. Geez, Ricky, you all right over there?
Yeah.
the new product showcase. So that's really like where, you know, a lot of these exhibitors like pride themselves on. And one of the things that's been going on recently, and I'll get to this, is they're trying to incorporate more fly fishing into the ICAST show. And they had 6 new categories of fly fishing specific products for the new product showcase. I was going to get a list, but the laundry list of the categories are just insane. You know, best new saltwater reel, best new freshwater reel, best new saltwater rod, freshwater rod, you name it. There's a category for like something novelties and whatever. So we're going to the new product showcase, Ricky and I, and they haven't rolled out the carpet yet. And this guy's got his booth all set up, and I got 2 big boxes, and I'm not paying attention. And I almost slipped on my ass, bro. The floor was soaked.
It was so hot.
This guy's booth. Yes, it's like 85, 90 degrees in there. So this guy had a booth, and it was basically a misting fan. It was a fan that blew just light mist everywhere. And it was really cool. But you put that on like a greasy, slick, humid concrete floor and you're not paying attention. Anyways, that guy took home new product showcase winner for some novelty.
For his misting fan?
Yes, dude. For the something novelties category. It was like miscellaneous.
When we walked by, he was using it. And he was like kind of using it in a way that he wanted you to look at him using it.
Like, I didn't know if it was just a guy walking by. He's like, oh, misting fan right here. No, it was the guy that owns it. But he was like basically doing a demo, like, yeah, come.
Because you could see us all dying.
Yeah. So
great.
this trade show where the ICAST is, it's in Orlando, Florida. It's in Orlando, Florida every year, pretty much for the last like 8 or 9 or 10 years. If you have not been to Orlando in July, it is the hottest place on earth, the most humid, hottest place on earth that you will ever experience. And during the show, they have the air conditioning on, of course. It's awesome. It's cool being inside. Well, during setup Monday, the show is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. During setup Monday and Tuesday, they do not have the air conditioning on because the big giant doors are open for people to bring booths in and out. And it is 95, 100 degrees, 100% humidity. It is the most unbearable work environment. And what I didn't notice is this. So all around these big giant booths, they have these giant drop hangers that have the company names on them. So like when you're at a distance, you're like, oh, where's so-and-so's booth? Where's Costa's booth? You look down, you're like, oh, I see it. There's guys up there hanging those during Monday and Tuesday. I mean, of course, right? Somebody has to. But when you think it's 100 degrees on that floor level, like I cannot imagine how hot it is at the top of that place, hanging those things with ropes and chains all day long. I mean, shout out to that union crew that
union
does that.
guys are just crushing it.
I mean, just insane.
Yeah.
If you were making what they're making an hour, you probably would hang.
You know what? They deserve it, and they deserve a lot more. So anyways, that's kind of the rundown of the ICAST show. So everyone kind of knows, that's like curious, like what it is, what's it stand for, like how it works and all that stuff. And I kind of like loosely explain that a little bit. So the fly side, okay, IFTD is what the show was originally called. It stood for International Fly Tackle Dealer, right? That show is put on by a company or organization called AFTA, which is the American Fly Fishing Trade Association. That to give you listeners like an idea of how big the conventional business is versus the fly fishing business. It used to be called the IFTD show. It's now called the Confluence Show. They changed the name up. The Confluence Show is we're literally 60 days away from it. Probably 58 as of my last notes that I wrote last week. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're 60 days away. How many exhibitors do you think are on the floor plan right now for the Confluence Show, the original IFTD show? I'll ask you, Nate. Actually, did I ask you the other day? Let me keep going back to Ricky. I like pinning Ricky down. How many exhibitors do you think are on the floor plan right now? The show is 60 days away.
It's got to be at least 70.
45. 45 exhibitors so far, and they're 60 days away.
There's probably like 15 apparel companies.
Now, there's some open slots that are on hold. So like I even accounted for those. So you're talking 632 exhibitors on the conventional side versus 45 so far locked in to go to Salt Lake City in 2 months. I mean, it's not even close as far as the size of the fly versus conventional. And we knew that, and we know that, and most people know that. But if you're a hardcore, fly guy and you don't pay much attention to the conventional industry, like, it's just to give people kind of an idea and a concept of like the two different entities and how big they are. So that show is in Salt Lake City, Utah, coming up in 60 days. So what I thought was interesting, and some history on both shows so people know. So those two shows were combined years ago. They're no longer combined. I've been at Cortland for 10, 11 years. My first show ever was a Landcast show. My first ICAST show was in Las Vegas. Okay. That was the first year those two IFTD and ICAST show worked together. They were always separate, correct? Maybe
they were separate before,
right?
Correct.
Maybe they were together years ago. I don't know, but you're talking a long time ago. But they were, I will just say for this conversation, they were always separate. So in 2013, the ICAST show and the IFTD show combined in July in Las Vegas. That was the first year they ever did it. In 2014, the show moved back to Orlando, the combined show, and it's been there pretty much ever since until 2019, which was the first year that the two shows separated again. Well, I should say that was the first year that I was working those shows that they were separated. So ICAST was in Orlando, and the 2019 IFTD show was in Denver that year, correct? Yeah, Denver. And I just like to give people an idea of like what the traffic was like at both those shows. So when they were combined, which is, I've only been used to those shows when they were combined. You know what I mean? Like, you've been doing shows, Nate, for a long time. So you know what it was like. When they were in, because before that they were in what? New Orleans in August, which is the second hottest place in the world in the summertime.
IFTD before
Reno, Las Vegas.
It was primarily in Denver. And then they expanded it out like periodically, like after Denver for a lot of years. I think it went to Reno a couple times, New Orleans. And then I think after New Orleans, maybe was when it joined with ICAST. But it was primarily Denver for a long time.
So that first year they were in Las Vegas. And I don't know why they had combined, but when you factor in like the conventional side, you said 632 exhibitors, you're talking pro staff members, media, vendors, it's a well attended show, right? But no consumers. It's not a consumer show. When you think about the fly industry being that small and you exclude consumers and it's just pro staff, media, vendors and the wholesale buyers, like, it's a much smaller show. So I don't know if they had combined years ago to see how the traffic would go. I'm assuming that's what they did, but that's what I was always used to. Like in the shows, like they weren't separated in any way, shape, or form. Like, you would walk through the conventional show and all of a sudden, like, you would be in the fly show, but you wouldn't know until you looked around and you're like, oh, these are all fly dealers. Like, there's no wall. There's no the signs don't change. You know what I mean? And same thing, you're in the fly show, you walk down the aisle your first time at a show and all of a sudden you're like in a conventional side of the show. So it wasn't separated like that, but they were always there. The IFTD show was always like kind of on one portion of it. Like, you weren't intermixed like they are now. So in 2019, they separated, like I said. Now the shows, like I said, they moved it. It's called the Confluence Show. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. ICAST, I think, is locked in to be in Orlando for the next 3 years.
ICAST years ago too, I believe, like when you went to Vegas that first time years ago. I want to say that it alternated every other year between Orlando and Vegas.
Right.
Like, it would go back and forth.
And I actually I like where it's at in Orlando just because you've been there for a few times. You know your way around.
Yep.
You know the airport, you know the restaurants, you know your hotel, you know where you're going. We know we're fishing. We know how far we're fishing. Vegas is cool. I didn't do it enough to really get a jive of the town and everything. And I'm not a huge Vegas guy. Maybe I am if I keep going, but I personally like it in Orlando. One, the major factor is, I know Nate's like shaking his head because he loves Vegas. I like the fact that I can jump on a JetBlue flight in Syracuse and in 2.5 hours direct flight be in Orlando, and in 20 minutes I'm at the show. I can't do that in Las Vegas flying out of Syracuse. We had to drive to, dude, this guy worked here years ago. His name's Mike Pulley. Shout out Mike Pulley, but man, you screwed this up big time. He's like, hey man, there's a direct flight from Buffalo to Las Vegas. And I'm like, yeah, I've worked here for like a couple years. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Direct flight. Well, dude, it's 2.5 hours from Buffalo, from Syracuse and back. Yeah, it's a direct flight. We left the day before the flight, stayed over in a hotel in Buffalo so we could get on a flight the next morning.
There was a couple people back then that I think just had a thing. They would only take direct flights.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter where they were getting on that plane, had to be a direct flight. It's like, God, so I didn't care.
So now I'm in an airport hotel on my birthday by myself in Buffalo. And it's like, okay, whatever. Well, when you get back from ICAST, do you think the next thing you want to do is take a 2.5 hour car ride home? No. So that's one reason it was a major screw up, Mike. Sorry, I got to call you out here. And I would rather take a connection to like JFK or something to go to Las Vegas for like an hour and like have a coffee and a donut and then go to Las Vegas. Yeah. But dude, I remember driving home from Buffalo. And if you've never, for listeners, if you want to drive on the flattest, most boring road in your life, with the exception of like the heartland of America where it's just flat, get on the New York State Thruway from Buffalo to Syracuse. There's nothing to look at. There's no vision, gravity change, depth. It's just trees. It's just straight. It sucks. It's boring. So I just bringing that up now. It's just that was a painful time. So anyways, the shows are separated now, and I can definitely see. I even remember in the 2019 in the Denver show, like the attendance seemed down a little bit. And attendance seemed down a little bit this past year at ICAST. I mean, we're coming off COVID, which I will get into, but I don't know how it's going to go. And COVID definitely hurt the trade shows. You know that. I mean, they hurt all the little trade shows that we did. Like there were some that were gaining traction, and then COVID just crushed it. COVID has crushed the trade show business big time, which is super unfortunate because they are a great way to market your company. They're a great way to see other people in the industry that you're friends. It's a fun time. It gets you out of the office. You bust your ass, working the shows, and it's just it's all around. It's a good vibe. So I'm not really sure what's going to go down with it, but I just remember that when the shows were combined, the traffic was obviously better because you got a lot of carryover from the conventional side. You know what I mean? And vice versa. Like in Florida alone, the amount of fly shops that are in Florida or in Georgia or in the Southeast that would go to the ICAST show because it was close by and because they could go to the IFTD show. You know what I mean? So it was a good mix, and I'm not really sure why they had split up. And I'm also, it's hard for us because we sell braid and we sell fly. So having that one big show all in one was super easy. You get the booth ready, you get the products ready, you get your people ready. It's a lot of planning. You know what I mean? And then now you're going to split them up. You're basically doing 2 giant shows, and it's a pain. So for me, go ahead, Nate.
No, I was just going to say that years ago when you're talking about IFTD in Denver, the 2 things that continuously came up all the time, no matter what, was the date of the show.
Sure.
When they were going to have it.
Sure.
Because you had a bunch of people like, we can't go then. Doesn't work.
It's our peak season. Then, we're not leaving.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then you had the other half that were just like, well, that's when we can go.
Sure.
So the date was always an issue.
Location was an issue.
And the location was always an issue. You've got a lot of places out west, but then everybody back east is like, I'm not going all the way to Denver.
You're exactly right. And we chatted about this before. When is the right time to have that type of show? So the reason typically why they would have that show, right? That's when you introduce all of your new products, right? That's when everyone, like if I'm a fly shop, I want to go to the IFTD show, see all the new products that these brands are coming out with at the same time. right? Done. Well, when you factor in, like, you're a sales rep, Ricky, and so am I. If you have a show in October, the chances are that fly shop, or let's say that conventional shop, you've already seen those people and showed them what's new, right?
Yeah.
You've already shown them pricing. What's changed in the sale program? What are we doing marketing wise? You know what I mean? So it's like, why do I need to go to a show in September and October when I've already seen the stuff from my sales rep? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you could say the same thing, you know, if you put that, you know, show at a different date. And I think that's kind of why July typically works for the ICAST show, because for those of you listening, like this is also the point of the show. Yes, you go and you see new products, right? But you write show special orders. You know what I mean? That's a huge thing. So let's say I'm a manufacturer and I come out with something new. I would like to take pre-orders of that item because it helps me know how much I need to make so I can ship orders in full, you know what I mean, for the next year to come. And you make stuff on top of that to fulfill your fill-in orders and stuff like that. So typically you would go to the show to see what's new. As a fly shop or conventional shop, you capitalize on show special orders because you get a better deal, right? And for the manufacturer, it makes sense for you because you're taking orders and you know how much guaranteed business, you know how much you need to make, you know what I mean? And you piggyback off those orders and you make a little bit more. So like July kind of makes sense for the most part, but you get a lot of shops like in the Rockies, you know what I mean? Like
they can't leave.
No one's going to leave, you know, Denver area or Montana during peak season. I mean, that is, you know,
then you move it up into the spring and everyone on the East Coast isn't going to
everyone's in peak season
and
on
the
the
new
East
products
Coast.
Aren't ready for the following year
and
yet.
The new products aren't done just yet for the following year. So it's like the time never is perfect for everyone, right? Both in terms of like the new product cycle, the ordering cycle, and for the fly shops as far as like whose peak season is when. And I understand, you know what I mean? In the fall, it does make a little bit more sense. You know, things kind of slow down a little bit more. Like the East Coast is like, you know, for fly, like you get some coastal stuff. Guys are trout fishing here or there. You know, the Great Lakes are going. I mean, as far as the Rocky Mountains go, like, yeah, there's still people fishing, but people are back in school. Generally, it's slowed down a little bit. You know what I mean? So it makes sense, like travel wise, for that show to happen. But in terms of the product cycle, there's a good chance you've already seen your sales rep.
Pretty much.
Right. The other factor is digital marketing. And Nate, you brought this up, like, I think last week when we were chatting about it. But before the internet, okay, the only way that you could see what's new is if you went to the ICAST or IFTD show, or if you waited to see your sales rep. Right now, you can email market people, tell them what's new, what the pricing is, what the terms are, what the details are of the product. Hey, here's a video of every aspect of the product, how to use it, like on the water, you know what I mean, in use. So
we would literally go and you know, before the, you know, this was before the internet. I don't want to say before the internet.
Nate's before the internet. Yeah. Don't date yourself. Keep going.
But when it wasn't, you know, anything to what it was today.
Sure.
So yeah, you literally getting ready for the show, like spent days like printing out like press releases, printing them out on paper, making CDs, like all kinds of stuff. Like it was just, and I remember going and literally the 3 days of the show, it was just nonstop appointments with like just media people, magazines, you know, books, newspapers, different things, like 3 days of that nonstop, you know. And that's, like I said, that's how these guys got everything.
That's what you would
do.
You
handed them a packet of stuff that they took back and used that.
Yeah. It's just a little different now as far as being a manufacturer and selling your stuff. You know what I mean? And we do that. Email marketing, you know what I mean? It's on social media. It's just like there was none of that, you know. So as time progressed and the digital marketing became more and more used from manufacturers and others, like that's how a lot of shops consume, you know what I mean, a lot of their, you know, new product knowledge. So it's just like you got the sales cycle, you got the new product cycle, you have the time and date for that's got to jive with everyone, and then the digital marketing factor. I mean, I would say those four are probably how you can have a good show, how you can have a bad show, or why shows maybe not be as well as attended in the past. You know what I mean? And you can say the same thing for consumer shows. Like, a lot of these guys, like, if I'm kind of in an area where I got to drive 4 hours to go to a trade show, it's like, I just want to go because I love it. You know what I mean? But to actually see the new stuff, it's like, you watch freaking videos on YouTube of what's new, like how does it work on the water, you know what I mean? It's just, it's tricky, and it's kind of a fine line, and it's definitely an issue that trade shows are going to have to deal with, both from the consumer side and like the wholesaler side. So
not to mention it's so expensive to travel right now.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to go to Orlando in the summer. I mean, if you're going from the West Coast, I mean, that's easily for 3 days with your couple of your coworkers at a small, a respected shop. Like you're talking $3-4 grand easy.
I mean,
easy.
Think about it.
If you're trying to have any fun.
So if it's like, let's say you and I own a conventional shop, right? And we're in, let's just say we're on the West Coast. All right. We're going to Florida. You're looking at what? $500 per ticket, round trip, right? There's $1,000. We're going to stay for 3 nights. Let's say we stay Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, so we can see the show Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Probably have to stay 4 because sometimes you don't get that flight back.
Yep.
Let's just say we stay 4. Let's say we get a double queen and we strap it down, right? And it's just you and me in there, and we're trying to pinch a penny. It's $200 a night, bro.
Yeah, that's $800.
That's $1,800. Now you're talking food on International Drive in Orlando, which is not cheap. Like, we're not gonna, want to eat something decent
for like the 4 days, and at least another $300 to $500.
Uber, you know what I mean, or a rental car. You know what I mean? You start adding it up. I mean, it's going to cost you it's you and I own a conventional shop, what, $3,500, $4,000, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
To go to a show comfortably for 4 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
You really got to want to go.
You really got to want to go, and you really got to take advantage. You got to know the brands you're going to look at. You got to know the show specials that are going on. And most of those guys know because they get email blasts before, like, hey, this is the show special. Like, show up. You know what I mean? And write your early orders, so take that into account. If it's like $3,500, $4,000 for just a couple guys that own a conventional shop, there's some shops that have, social media guy and this guy that they're film, like, dude, their shops are showing up with 3, 4, 5, 6 people.
Yeah.
So
even more.
Because if you go to a show and Nate's gone to the show before as quote unquote a spectator, right? He wasn't with Cortland at the time, but you went to the show just to walk the show. Yep. You want to go see every single booth in 3 days. It's almost impossible.
It takes all 3 days.
It takes all 3 days. And you weren't writing orders that day. Think about, you and I go to, let's say, like the Shimano booth. We need a bunch of Shimano reels, right? We got to see what's new.
You got 8 different brands to cover.
Yeah.
For just one booth.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just all the stuff that we have to carry in our fly shop or tackle shop. We're going to try to knock out each one of those. And you have to get appointments because your sales rep probably has a conflicting appointment. You know what I mean? So, dude, it's tricky. And then so that's just being a fly shop owner or a tackle shop owner. But you think about, the manufacturers, like for us, like you, me, Matt Brovey, Zach, Jim, Ryan, Frank, the booth space, like our booth space, just to put it in perspective for those of you listening, like we have a 10 by 20 booth space, right? We've had a 20 by 20 in the past. Like we'll fluctuate depending on like how much new stuff we have coming out, how much we need to display, you know what I mean? The state of the economy, the market, like, hey, if we need to have a big booth, we'll have one. If we need to, have a 10 by 30 or a 10 by 20, like that's fine too. 10 feet deep, 20 feet wide. Some of these big brands that I mentioned, exhibitors that have, 2, 3, 4, 13 different brands underneath their name, their booths are 30 by 60, you know what I mean? 20 by 50. 40 by 40
with tree houses in the middle.
Dude, it's insane, the booth space. And booth space is not cheap. You know what I mean? And rightly so. Like you have the potential of going there and doing good business. You got a good product. You get the right people there. Like you're going to do good business. So there's a trade-off. But yeah, for manufacturers, like it's not cheap either.
No.
You know what I mean? Because we have to go, like I said, the show is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Richard and I, or Matt and I, are usually, someone has to fly down on Monday morning to set the booth up on Monday. right? Usually we can knock it out in a day, but sometimes, things go wrong. You're shipping a crate from New York to Orlando. Like something could crack, something could break, something could get scratched. It leaves you a buffer day in there to call Nate Dogg back at home that says, please send us another sign because our shit's falling apart. So it's like you go a day early. So we fly in like on a Monday, then the show's done on a Friday afternoon. You have to wait for your crate to come back to break down the booth. And at that point, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock at night when you're done on a good year. And you can't get a flight home from Orlando to Syracuse at 9 o'clock at night. So you have to wait the next day. And we're spending, 5-6 nights in a hotel down there. Just, a couple people to make sure the booth's wrapped up. So it's an absolute commitment, which I think is where some of the stuff, like I said, as far as like the state of the trade shows are going. And you have to weigh. It's like, is this worth our spend? Versus how much business we're going to get. And I think a tackle shop and a fly shop, they're thinking the same thing. Yeah. Am I going to save $4,000 and show special orders
and pay 3 other people to cover my shifts?
Yeah. And pay 3 other people to cover the shop while we're gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a constant battle that
when I've already got an email blast of everything that I need to know for next year, and my sales rep's going to be here in a week.
And I know Ricky's coming to see me to show what I mean? Yeah. It's a lot of people go, yes, to take advantage of the show special stuff.
Sure.
But also get as much media as they can. And that's something I've noticed in the past, 5, 6, 7 years, is that all these conventional and tackle shops and fly shops, like they're ramping up their website and their social media, and they go and they film and they do tutorials and they do YouTube videos. They want to show their customers firsthand, like what they're looking at. You know what I mean? They're not relying on the manufacturer to come out with the videos. So a lot of these shops, man, like they're ramping it up, taking advantage of, and rightly so, you know what I mean? Of
smart.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why they're kind of tacking on more people coming here or there. So
especially when you're bringing on new baits and stuff that are just like,
dude, it's
if you put a couple new baits in your shop, like the only way you're going to sell it is if you get some buzz around them.
Yeah.
I mean,
you want your customer is, looking at your Facebook, social media, or maybe an email blast, like, he wants to know what's new at the shop.
Yeah.
If I'm 45 minutes away from my local shop and I love them, like I'm not going to keep poking in hey, what's new? Hey, you know what I mean? You're going to wait till some stuff drops. So those guys have taken advantage of that and they've done a really good job. But I've definitely noticed that has changed, is like the media aspect from like the wholesale buyers of the fly shops, tackle shops, ramping up the media. So anyways, that's kind of the rundown, folks, of ICAST, IFTD, what's different, when they were together, when they separated, the actual true meanings of what ICAST is and IFTD is, why people go, who goes, what's the benefits of going, how much does it cost if it's going, and kind of where I see, you know what I mean? I think that was a good breakdown as far as, digital marketing, how it used to be. I mean, dude, you bring up a good point, Nate. Like, could you imagine being a sales rep years ago, Ricky, without a cell phone and without your laptop? You get a fat order from a shop that's like, hey, we could really use this like next week. Like, we're out of stock of this. You got to go to a payphone. You ask the lady at the front desk at the Hampton Inn, you're like, can I borrow your phone real quick? You get a call back to I'm serious. You write it down on paper and you wait to come back. Like, I think we're pretty spoiled, when it comes to
absolutely
being sales reps versus, I mean, I guess it's all relative. You're kind of used to what you're used to, but I just, it's a lot of stuff to keep track of. So anyways, that's kind of the wrap up of the ICAST show and kind of the gist of the two. So I wanted to go through, make the chill portion to wrap up the show. Dude, I got to give a shout out to our boy, Willie Lee of Native Fly Charters. He's located on the Space Coast of Florida, which is like an hour east of Orlando. Willie took us fishing, I think Monday, and he took us fishing Saturday after the show for tarpon. Just the nicest, most dialed, chill guy that you could possibly go fly fishing with, or conventional fishing. He'll do whatever you want to do. If you want to target redfish, snook, tarpon, sea trout, if you want to go after baby tarpon, if you want to catch a saltwater catfish, he'll do that. Check him out, Native Fly Charters. It's Willie Lee. There's a good chance those of you listening are gonna go to Orlando at some point in time with your kids, with your family, for work. It's literally an hour drive from Orlando to where he's at, where he guides. He guides all up and down the coast there in that area. Just Got to give him a shout out, man. It's just, if you want a great relaxing day and have some chance at some fish maybe you've never caught or check one off your bucket list, you got to check him out, man. Shout out Willie for dragging us around. He took Ricky and I on Monday before the show. Tuesday. We set up the booth Monday. We went Tuesday. Frank took Matt Brovey and Zach. We went out together, kind of stayed within eyesight or whatever. Well, Saturday, Frank had a dealer event at Harry Goods in Melbourne, right? So Frank couldn't go. So I was like, Willie, like, you think you can fit all three of us? Like, he's got a 17-foot skiff, which is sick. So Willie stuck Ricky, Matt, and I and himself on a boat for tarpon fishing. It was tight quarters, but he put the beats on. It was hot.
We saw an epic display of a dolphin eat.
We got some killer footage of dolphin like crashing mullet on the shoreline. It was cool, man. But he didn't have to stick all three of us on there, but he did, and it was fun, man. It was a way to kill like a day here or there, and some, otherwise would have been just stuck in a hotel. Ricky wanted to go to a water park. He's like, I don't care. I'm just gonna go to a water park all day.
I'm a simple man.
All right. So instead of like, I usually do like a this or that. But I kind of want to make it more show oriented. So I'm going to give you guys some questions and you got to tell me, your thoughts. I'm not going to do the whole 3-second thing because this is a little more in depth than that. And I'll ask you, Nate, even though Nate, you had to stay here, you've been at enough ICAST shows in the past. So some of these questions will go to you. I'll start with this. All right. At the 2023 ICAST show, Ricky, who had your favorite booth there? What was your most favorite booth display at the ICAST show? It's a tough call, man. I'll give you a few minutes to think about. And Nate, when I go to you, think back on the shows that you used to do. Who had the best booth in your mind? All right, Ricky, who are you thinking? You can give me two. If you got it narrowed down to two, you can give me two.
I think Costa just takes it. I mean, they bring a whole treehouse. I mean, they bring in like 30 or 40 guides, industry guys, to stay around the booth just to make it look like it's popping 24/7. It just looks like an all-day party at the Costa booth.
I would agree.
So I'll go Costa. I think they got the best looking.
They have like what Ricky means by like a treehouse. It's like a super fancy treehouse, basically like the ground level.
It looks like it belongs on an island.
Yes, yeah. And it has that like island vibe to it. It's very open, So they have probably like a 40 by 40 or 30 by 50 size booth size, right? And the ground level, they have kind of like an open like shop type deal. And then there's stairs that go up to the second story where they have like couches where they have their meetings with dealers and whatever. And the front is just chill vibes. They usually have a band playing in the afternoon. They put on a free drink thing. All their sunglasses are on display. It is really cool, man. That's probably one of the better booths there, and I think it's typical of them.
Center of the place too. I mean,
literally smack dab in the middle. You have to walk by that booth at least 10 times if you're there for 3 days. All right, Nate, best booth of all time at ICAST that you've ever seen in all your shows.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Before you said it, I'm like, probably Costa.
All right,
but
they're up there.
It's the one that's the most.
Just in your face, like you see it just everywhere you walk.
Just remember that. I'm sure there's probably a lot of other ones that's like, hey, this was pretty cool.
It is,
but I mean, the
Costa booth is cool, and like I said, it has good vibes. You know what I mean? It's like chill. The people are there are really nice.
They have a bunch of different guides and captains there.
They associate themselves with the right people. So
cool.
I will. I guess I got to pick one too, but let me give honorable mention to some other booths, all right, that were super cool. Although it's been kind of the same booth for a while, I do have to say Sims has a nice booth. It's clean, the colors are good, the mannequins are all dressed up with rain gear, waders, boots, the lighting's good, the carpet's freaking nice, like their booth is clean, man. And it's been kind of the same for a while, but I got to give respect where respect is due. They got a nice clean booth, man, and they got a pretty chill vibe going on. Bahio sunglasses, is that how you pronounce it? Bahio, Bahio.
I thought it was Bahio, but then people were saying
Bahio. I might have butchered that. Anyways, this new sunglass company, well, it's not even new, it's been out for a few years, but they have the ultimate chill vibe. They got this old school, and there's no tower tree fort going on. It's like a 30 by 30 foot booth. They got an old school Volkswagen like Beetle bug in there with just,
It's like Mexico.
It literally looks like Mexico. I mean, they got old bar lights that have company, like super cool vibe, like very, very chill. I love their booth. But I think one of the ones that stood out in my mind from years past is when Realtree Fishing and Mossy Oak Fishing got into the ICAST show. So Realtree and Mossy Oak are typically your hardcore camouflage brands for hunting. For some reason, they both kind of got into the fishing industry like around the same time. Maybe they've always been there, but I just noticed their booths like starting to pop up, like Realtree Fishing, Mossy. I don't even know what they sell besides some clothing, probably licensing to their camo. You know what I mean? When you think about it, like, I don't really know how much else they got going on in that space.
I think that's all they're doing. They selling licensing.
In 2019 in Orlando, these guys literally built like a dock with a tree fort on it from scratch. I walked by on a Monday. I watched this guy measuring tape, ruler, pencil, buzzsaw, rips the saw, puts the board up, drills it in, hammers it. Like, they built an entire fort in 2 days. And I'm talking like a 3-story fort from scratch for Realtree Fishing. Like, not the craziest, coolest booth, but just the fact that they hired a union to come build this thing. And then the guys had to tear the whole freaking thing down and move it. I don't know if it's at the Realtree home base, wherever the hell that is, but that was pretty sweet. But
I think they had that last year too.
They did. This year I didn't see that. Last honorable mention, probably the Under Armour booth. Yeah. Under Armour booth is just insane. I mean,
those big companies all have that same, like Rapala.
They
like
do.
Just super tall,
just
walls.
Massive height, big photos everywhere, very clean, open,
huge screens.
I think, all right, best of all time, I got to go with Simrad though. When Simrad in 2019 came with a booth, again, a monster booth, but they had a TV screen that was the size of the screen in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I'm talking, this thing must have been 60 feet long by 20 feet high, double-sided. I don't even know how they hung this thing. I didn't see it this year. They did not have that TV, but dude, I don't even know who bought that, where it came from, how it got there. Like, I don't see that thing fitting in the back of an 18-wheeler like trailer. This thing was on another level. When I mean like a TV screen that you would see center stage at like a football stadium, like, dude, it just unbelievable. All right, well, that's enough about booths. Coasters is sick. It's good vibes there. The only other question I had though, as far as that show goes, is like, I don't see a lot of boats there, and I think I mentioned that to you.
Like one or two.
Like, when you think about the boats for the ICAST show, you're talking.
It's not a boat show.
I know,
it's weird. It's like it's a boat accessory show.
But when you go to the show, everyone that thinks they can come up with a kayak is that there's 14 booths that are selling kayaks there.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? And you think about the boats in the industry from like, dude, Ranger, Tracker, Phoenix, Camus, and then Yellowfin, Maverick. Like, I get that it's not a boat show, but you'd think there'd be a couple sprinkled in here.
The only people that had the boats there were people that were displaying like
stuff
decking,
on them.
Like their new decking material.
Did you ever see, like, I know it's not a boat show. Like, they had the Miami boat show. Like, I get that, and they don't want the show to be a boat show.
There's really not even like outboard companies either. No. Like engine, like you don't see Mercury there.
No, I'm sure they were. You know,
Yamaha
what I mean?
Dude, how does Yamaha not have an insane booth?
I'm sure they were, but
it's like trolling. Everyone has a trolling motor.
Everyone has a trolling motor. But, Minn Kota, Power Pole, like, and it's just down the list. And yeah, I don't know. I just think I wouldn't mind it. They sprinkled in some of those giant center consoles. You know, drove in a 60-foot Viking once in a while for some.
The following weekend.
Yeah, it could be.
The following weekend's the boat show.
Maybe there is a show that's probably like right around there. But anyways, I thought that was interesting. All right, Ricky, you first. Most notable or recognizable product that you saw at the show. Could be something brand new. Could be something that has been out for a few years. You just didn't know it existed.
One thing that I saw that I'll do one for fly, one for sport. For sport, the company, it's a Japanese soft plastic company. Justin Jones, who's on our booth, guy down on Lake Okeechobee, he showed me Gcrack. They came out with these modified drop shot plastics. Have a kind of a weird taper to them. kind of look like a turd, just like fat and get fatter and pointed at the end, but they're loaded with different rubber legs. So it's like a crossover between a fly fishing like fly and like a smallmouth lure, like plastic. So
What's
it's
it called? Gcrack?
Gcrack's a company. It's a crazy Japanese name. It's like Emo Shiba or something, but they have like these crazy like different colored rubber legs like impregnated into the plastic, and it just looks like the fishiest thing ever.
Does it stink? Like,
of course it stinks. But I mean, just in terms of like smallmouth fishing, I mean, the movement, the way I was watching it on the screen, the way the thing falls. Yeah, right there. Look at that. That drop.
Wow.
Can you imagine? Like, that's like,
that is
sure, you have a lot of plastics out there that have good movement. But
lot of plastics,
nothing
bro.
competes with something that just looks that natural.
The plastics,
and it's plastic.
And maybe we can. Scotty's got this pulled up on the screen.
Kind of looks like a turd, though, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of.
So the plastics in the bass industry right now is just it's insane. So to come out
That's
with
different.
something that's like unique, that is definitely you figure a product called Gcrack that looks like a turd that stands out in Ricky's
Well, I
mind
saw
the
them.
best.
Yeah, I did. But when you see, I mean, all the guys up on the St. Lawrence, they were fishing them, and they look like they slayed.
Well,
I mean, how could they not? Look at it. It's like a
that is super
crossover of a bug and a.
Maybe we can put that up, splice that in, Scotty, when we do the edit.
It's like a
all right,
bug plastic.
Gcrack turd from Richard.
Yep.
All right, we just mentioned it, but there's two things I gotta say. The trolling motor from Power Pole, the demonstration that they put on was insane, bro. Do you remember that? It was basically a massive cylinder filled with water, and they had a trolling motor in it. And the movement of that, like the power that thing had, like I don't have a trolling motor. I give two shits about a trolling motor, dude. This, like, people were walking by like, holy shit. I mean, that was a trolling motor. If you're into trolling motors and you haven't checked this out, this thing is on another level. It probably goes faster than half the regular motors out there on outboards. Like, it was, dude, the demonstration was sick. That definitely sold me on that. It was basically a huge clear cylinder filled with water with the trolling motor in it turning in different directions. The water this thing would displace when it moved was just like off the charts. So that's definitely...
That was cool.
It stands out to me because the demonstration was sick. Obviously, the product's really good. The only other item that made no sense to me, and I must be missing it because I'm not a boat owner, but the lithium battery situation that's going on right now. There was battery companies selling lithium. Were they right? Lithium.
Yeah, they're all $1,500 batteries.
It was insane. There must have been 12 booths there selling batteries, lithium. Like batteries, like all these different boost things. They probably all come from the same damn manufacturer. They just slap their name on them. I'm guessing, because I can't imagine there's that many battery manufacturers in the world. But dude, when I mean like 10 to a dozen, I felt like every turn I took, there was another and so there must be some new. Again, I'm speaking out of turn here. I might sound like an idiot. I'm not a boat guy with a battery stuff, but the battery situation in the industry right now is like, that's the new thing. Like 7-8 years ago, once Yeti coolers came out, everyone had a new cooler, right? Now everyone's got a new battery. Next year, I don't know. We'll come out with something different that I didn't see coming. So that one definitely threw me off for sure. Other demonstration, bro, I got to give a shout out to our boy Nate. Our show braider was absolute fire at the show. Talk about sucking people in like a laser beam, and they would walk by that braider. So we obviously have, hundreds and hundreds of braiders here at the plant. Nate took one, stripped the whole thing down, cleaned it up, painted it, gave it all these bells and whistles. I mean, this thing, it was bright orange. It was live braiding at the show. I did a couple seminars each day. I mean, dude, it was fire. There was other braid manufacturers that walked by and they're like, damn, look at that braider.
They're like, that's how it's made.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what?
Well, what's funny, because there's a lot of braid that comes from overseas, and those guys have no idea how braid actually is made. They just buy it, put their name on it. So when those guys walked by,
it was clear.
It was clear that I'm like, this is how it's made. If you'd like more information, I could tell you about it. But the other companies there that make braid, that there's brands there that sell braid. I mean, they were they were pretty impressed, man. So I figured you got to give a shout out where credit's due in there.
And only one kid tried to stick his finger in it.
Yes. We took the top off to do a demonstration. And some little kid's like, Dad, look at this. Ricky's like, no. So shout out Nate Dogg for pulling that together, because you basically built a sick, jazzed up.
I'm glad the orange went over well too, because I thought that was gonna be.
It was cool.
I literally, I'm like,
gonna do what?
I don't know. You guys get really picky on certain things. And I'm like,
no.
I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm gonna get this whole thing done, and I wanted to surprise you guys. Like before, like I didn't want you to see it until it was done.
Yeah.
And I had this thought in my mind. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get it all done, and they're gonna look at it and go, "This is cool," but that orange is horrendous. So
it's usually how
Nate
it goes.
doesn't understand how much we like him, though. You know what I mean?
I
Come
know.
on,
Dude, I knew how much work
you're selling me a house, buddy. Come on.
Yeah.
You think I'm gonna roast you for an orange braider? Come on.
I knew how much work he put into that, and I'm like, no matter what color this is, we're going with it.
Could have been
'cause I
like
ain't
dirty
saying
brown,
shit.
and I still would have loved it.
No, the show braider that was sick.
Did you see the new shoes Corker has coming out?
Corkers, yeah, they went heavy on shoes.
Eric
right?
DeYoung, like collab artwork and
So,
stuff. Those are pretty cool.
Corkers typically well known for their wading boots in the conventional surf, jetty type stuff, and obviously fly fishing. Make great boots, awesome boots. Big kick into the just general shoe category.
Shoe and flops.
Shoe and flops. But I guess if you got the material, you know what I mean? There's probably like, why don't we just
They actually
make some nice
have. I think
shoes
they
here?
have like hiking boots coming out with interchangeable soles too. So
Good stuff. I did notice those.
Yeah, that was
it was
cool.
also cool to see Grundens there. I don't remember seeing Grundens in the past, like years ago. Grundens. I mean, obviously Grundens is huge, but they had a sharp booth. Really cool stuff. I know we wear a lot of their boots. Their stuff's awesome. Their booth was super cool as well. All right, favorite celebrity that you saw at the show? Like you're like, oh, that guy's cool, man. I haven't seen him. And Nate, this one's coming to you too. All-time favorite celebrity. Ricky, you've been to 2 ICASTs. All-time favorite celebrity.
Every time I see Bill dance, I just smile thinking about him falling out of the boat. So I just every time I see Bill dance,
easy
every
to
year,
fall back on. Bill Dance is your favorite. Yeah, for sure.
It's just like for like growing up watching like ESPN and just fishing shows in general, like Bill Dance, like just on TV all the time, and to see him walk around the show with his Tennessee orange hat, crisped, orange polo, it just ties it all in together.
100%. I think I've said this before on Nate and Chris's like Christmas time episode, but the first time I ever saw Bill Dance was at the Las Vegas show. It was like noon at the bar. We were waiting to go like set up our booth or something, and Bill Dance walked in with his classic Tennessee hat, and he had his roller bag because he just got off the plane. He had a backup Tennessee hat clipped to his roller back just in case that one got dirty on his head. He had a back, like that's him. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's dark blue jeans, the Tennessee orange polo, and the crisp hat. I mean,
every time,
just perfect.
And he's got a backup hat just in case that thing gets dirty. All right, Nate, your favorite celebrity of all time that you've met or saw at the ICAST show?
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, but I'd say Wild Bill.
Gotta be, right?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Bill Dance,
Jimmy Houston, sure.
Seeing all those
Roland
guys,
Martin,
like really,
yeah.
really cool. But yeah, I'd say Wild Bill was probably.
He's a legend. So, I mean, like you said, you got your standard celebrities at ICAST show: Jimmy Houston, Bill Dance. You know what I mean? Roland Martin. There's all sick Bass pros. Kevin Van Dam's there, Chuck Grisby's there, like all those guys. And then you got like your TV celebrities there, like. Definitely Wild Bill is my all-time favorite. I didn't chat with him this year. I just left him alone because I always
this guy again.
I always pull him aside. I'm like, what's up? Well, he's so nice, and he actually has a conversation with you when you're like, hey Bill, how are you? Like, how are things going? How's the show? Like, enjoying the everything? And he's like, dude, it's great, whatever. I'm like, when's the new show coming out? Like, how was your season last year? Like, he genuinely has like a nice conversation with you. And most of those guys do. That's why they know they're going to get hit up from everyone to chat and stuff. So definitely Wild Bill's all my favorite of all time. But I didn't bug him this year. But other guys in there, you got the boys from Duck Dynasty were there again. Martin and Godwin were there. They're like a staple at ICAST now. I got a picture with them at the Yeti party from a few years ago. But they're there all the time. And then, dude, there's guys there that like are legit that everyone on the show listening and us would recognize that you just don't see because the show is so goddamn big. You know what I mean? So All right. Convention show food, right? This is a rough one because you're locked into this show and you don't, there's probably 20 different vendors there in this one area that sell convention show food. I call it convention show food because you got to go eat lunch at some point in the day. Number one meal at the show from the convention show food line that you ate. I tell you right now.
I know what you're gonna say, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it.
Poke bowl.
I looked 3 days in a row. And I could not find the poke bowl.
Spicy tuna poke bowl, and it was awesome. And I know a bunch of guys that are like hardcore sushi dudes, and I'm like, check it out. They're like, really? And they had it, and they're like, yeah, that is pretty good.
I couldn't find it.
Wild card. That was new for me this year. All right, I'll give you a skip on that. Like I said,
it was all generic. I don't even feel like saying it because
it's fine because I'm gonna follow up with this one.
Sticks out.
We got there on a Monday. We left on a Saturday. Okay. When I mean we ate, because that's what you do at the ICAST show. You're just like, what do you want to do? You want to go get food? You just eat and you go to try to go to someplace different every time. I'm gonna give you the following options of where we ate in the 5 days, like the ones that stand out, and you tell me what the best one you had. All right. Japanese sushi the first time after we picked up Zach at the airport. Okay. That Mexican place that we ate lunch after we fished with Willie. Twin Peaks, which is a wild card where we met our boys from GFW at Quebec. Bahama Breeze, where we ate right before we went to Topgolf, or the Brazilian Steakhouse.
Definitely the Brazilian Steakhouse, just for what we did to Frank.
Easily.
I mean, the food was incredible. The bananas that you guys try to fight with me about.
That weren't plantains?
Yes. Like, I mean, everything about that experience was just top
That's
notch.
so funny. You took a video of that. You're like, are these plantains or bananas? Guy goes, that is a banana. And he comes back. He's like, I told you. So we usually have like one company dinner where like everyone kind of comes and we get together. We do it once a year. But we went to a Brazilian steakhouse for general terms. I don't know what the name of it was, but dude, the salad bar at this place was on another level. Like you could just get the salad bar and just stuff yourself with, 46 different kinds of just meats and cheese and hot peppers and salad and just, dude, my gut Friday morning after eating the Brazilian, like I ate stuff that I had never seen before. And it was delicious. And not to mention like the endless meat of just beef ribs, pork, chicken, it's nonstop. And I'd have to go with that one just because it was incredible. But that Mexican place we ate at with Willie was pretty good. So what Ricky mentioned is at this place, when we got a reservation, they're like, okay, 7:30, good, cool. Do you have any, special occasion? We're like, Zach goes, yes, it's someone's birthday. And I was just like, what? So we show up and I like forget about it. And I just hear like these bongo drums, bro, all night. Boom, dum, dum, dum. And people singing, like if you've ever been to like, I don't know, like an Applebee's, a Chili's, an Olive Garden, like how they do like the people come out and start singing stuff. So this goes on all night long. Like everyone decided to have a birthday there. It's just boom, dum, 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 dum. So I guess Zach told the lady on the phone that it was Frank's birthday. So Frank is our Florida sales rep, and he's like the nicest guy, but he's grumpy when you pull shit like this on him. And every time they played the bongos, I'm like, oh, here we go. It's Frank's turn. Well, at the end of the night,
it kept just ramping up too. Like every time the bongos came on, we'd all get more jacked up.
They would get closer to us and closer. Finally, it happened, bro. And I got a video of this, and I'll see if we can splice this in. But this is the funniest shit. I've never seen like a grown Italian man so freaking embarrassed in his life, sitting there with a little.
He accepted it quick though. He accepted
a cake and a candle in there, and people boom, dum, dum, singing the whole time, bro. It was so funny. And he's like, I'm gonna get you guys back. I'm gonna get you guys
back.
He
immediately thought it was you.
He did, because I always pull shit on Frank. Well, I made him play Top Golf the night before. Like Frank goes to Top Golf with us, and he never swings a club. And I gave him like a couple rum and coke, so I got him loosened up a little bit. I'm like, Frank, get up there, man. Just hit one ball. Come on, like we're all hitting golf balls. And like, dude, I'll be damned. Like, he had a good swing. Like for a guy that like never hits a golf ball, like doesn't participate in that kind of stuff, he had a great swing. Well, then he gets a little looser, and now he's up there. I'm like, Frank, someone else had to get a turn tonight. So the next day at the show, Frank's like, dude, I'm gonna kill you. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, he was sore from swinging the
so
club.
sore.
Yeah, he's like, I feel like I got a car accident.
He was generating some power.
Yeah,
he moved like that.
He was tworking his body. It hasn't been torqued in a long time.
I got muscles hurt that I never thought I ever had. So that was like by far the greatest show memory, probably one of them of all time. I think. Yeah.
And then when Ryan screwed with Zach on his chip on the first hole. We're playing
Ryan was chirping Zach at Top Golf, and that didn't go. Zach was taking it serious, and Ryan
got him.
Stands golf. And he's just talking shit in Zach's backswing the whole time. So I have videos of all that. So if we can splice them in and they're appropriate and they're good resolution, we'll throw them up there. All right, boys. Well, that's it. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I hope you guys listening enjoyed that as far as kind of state of the shows, what's what, how it went down. You know, what's gone on the last like 10 or so years as far as where they were when they were together, where they're apart, where we're at now. Hopefully you've grasped kind of the size of the two industries in terms of just the magnitude of the conventional and the fly show. And we'll see where they go. You know, we'll see if they'll join forces back together, if they stay separate. I hope just both parties. I mean, we sell both, man. So we need both places to be rocking. Again, it's just easier on me to plan for one show as it is for two. We've been spoiled over the years, dude. When ICAST was joined forces, like we've been getting away with a lot. So it is what it is. So anyways, folks, that's it for this week. Check out our media page on cortlandline.com. We have fresh new blogs up there. Obviously you can take a look at this podcast on there, some of the older podcasts. There's a ton of other stuff on there on our media page. We try to drop something new, like, you know, every other Thursday, I think we post up a new blog on there. Obviously the podcast's on there. I'm going to try to get a killer, like, wild card guest for the next podcast. I'm going to leave that here. I got somebody that some people might know, some people not know, but this guy is going to be dynamite. I promise you that. For all the podcasts, check us out everywhere podcasts are streamed, aired. YouTube channel. You can check out clips and stuff on social media as well. If you got any questions, comments, give our boy Scott, the engineer, Scotty Too Hottie, a shout. Cortland customer service legend, or just shoot us an email at info@cortlandline.com. Thanks for listening, folks. This is Cortland Hooked the Podcast.